Alright, everyone, welcome back to Hilly Reads. You can call me Hilly. I recently have been watching Newly Nova Lexi's videos, particularly her video where bowling determined her TBR, and then her more recent one where she threw snowballs to figure out her TBR. And while doing that, was kind of thinking about what I could do that would be my own version of this, my own little activity to determine TBR, because I thought those ideas were so fun. So I was thinking, what would be unique to me? What's something I'm pretty passionate about that I love incorporating to literally everything I do because it's one of my favorite things in the world? Okay, hockey. So I am going to be using sports betting on hockey games to determine my TBR. Now, hang with me here. It's a little bit complicated. I just want to say off the bat, I have never done an actual bet on sports in my entire life, and I will not be betting any of my money in this video, nor probably ever will I. The most I've ever done is one of my friends and I will occasionally bet who buys the next beer on who's scoring in a hockey game, you know? So I'm not betting any money on this. I have come up with my own version based on like normal sports betting things for hockey games. And how well I do in that is going to determine what books are on my TBR. I have 6 categories of books, and I have determined in those categories each I have 6 books. And number 1 in that category means I killed it with with my sports bet. I did incredible. 6 means I did terrible, and I get punished a little bit by what's on my TBR. So I'll walk through it as we go. This will be a little bit complex. I came up with some different rules for some different stuff. We're just going to take it as we go. I would like it to be said, as I'm filming this, it is April 1st. I believe the last NHL game of the season is on April 16th, so trying to fit this in there. I did not want to bet on playoffs. I'm too emotionally involved in playoffs to have another thing going on. So, and you know what? I don't feel like making a decision. So I'm going to be using a lot of wheel spinning in this video. First thing I'm going to wheel spin on is what our first category is. So I'm going to put those in my computer and then come right back. Okay, I have my wheel ready to go. What it says on here is thrillers, romances, horror, sequels, so books I'm already in progress on, fantasy, and miscellaneous, which is, you know, it's its own thing. So I'm gonna spin my wheel and see what we get. And oh, is it miscellaneous? Fantasy. Okay, it was just on the line there. It is fantasy. So I am going to walk you through what my fantasy books are, and then we're going to spin for what type of bet I'm doing. The fantasy books I have are number 1, Nettle and Bone. Number 1 is I did the most incredible on my bet. Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I have been on a T. Kingfisher kick lately. I am loving everything that woman wrote, and I just want to keep reading her books one after the other. So that's why it's number 1. Number 2 is Emily Wilde. I'll put who that's by here. I just saw somebody recently talking about this book series, and it sounded appealing to me. It sounded good. I love this idea of like I love following a character who's like obsessed with something and is like super knowledgeable about it, and Emily Wilde sounds cool. Number 3 is Ragpicker King, which is a sequel, but I elected to put it here instead of the sequel list. I read Swordcatcher a while ago, bought Ragpicker King when it came out. I just have been putting it off for whatever reason. I put off sequels a lot, as we'll see with my sequels category. So, number 4 is Shadow and Bone. I don't really want to read Shadow and Bone, but and it's right here. I bought it recently because I got King of Scars there from a little free library and was like, I can read this without having read Shadow and Bone. I read A Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom without having read them, and I love Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. Those are some of my favorite books, period. But I read on Reddit, it seems like you have to have read Shadow and Bone first. And I've heard those books they're kind of slow and they're not as good, so I've been putting it off. That's why it's at 4, which is like a little bit of a penalty, but I do want to read that book. Number 5, I'm doing Sword of Kaigen. I took out Sword of Kaigen from the library a little bit ago when lots of people, I don't know, I think at the end of 2024, maybe? A bunch of people had it on their best books of the list year, so I got pretty excited about it, took it out from the library, did not touch it, did not want to touch it, so as you'll see as we go through these, the ones later on the list are generally books I do want to read, but I'm not feeling right now for whatever reason. That's kind of the vibe. The last one on the list sometimes is not. Sometimes it's just a straight up punishment. And the last one on this list is ACOTAR. I don't want to read ACOTAR. I think ACOTAR, oh, yep, you can see it. It's bright fucking orange right there. My friend gave me ACOTAR. I love her very much. I do not want to read ACOTAR. I do not think it is my vibe, but again, it's on my shelf. She gave it to me. I should give it an honest try because I've honestly never really given it a real try. Maybe I'll like it. So, that's my punishment one. I am going to come back to you with the wheel for what we're betting on. Okay, I have my wheel for what we can choose from for what to bet on. I'll tell you the options right now, but I won't explain them until I roll whatever one it is, and then I'll explain how the rules for that one work. So we have money lines, we have puck lines, making my own parlay, anytime/first time goal scorer, which I'm kind of combining, draft a team, and one game. So I'll spin, and then I'll explain to you the rules of that one. Don't worry, you don't need to know sports betting terms. I'll explain to you everything you need to know. So we're spinning our wheel. And I don't remember which one red is. Money lines. Okay, so let me explain to you what a money line is. So for money lines, you're just picking who you think is going to win the game. I'll show an example here. Teams have a minus or a plus number, basically. The minus is they're the favorite to win. The plus is they're the underdog. So you get more money if you bet on the underdog and the underdog wins. For our purposes, we don't need to worry about that. All we need to worry about is I am going to spin a different wheel. I'm going to spin 5 times to get 5 different games that are happening tomorrow, April 2nd, because tomorrow, I think there's like 10 games happening. Tonight there's only 3, so I'll wait until tomorrow. For those games, I'll spend 5 times to get 5 games. For each of those games, I have to pick who I think is going to win. I'm not looking at the plus minus on it. I don't care about any of that. What happens from there is I get my number 1 choice book if I get 5 right. If I get 4 right, I get my number 2 choice book. If I get 3 right, I get 3. If I get 2 right, I get 4. I almost messed that up. If I get 1 right, I get 5. And if I get 0 right, then I have to pick number 6. So I think this was a good one to roll off the bat because I think this is one of maybe the easiest one for me to not get the worst book. Which is good. It aligned with fantasy too, because I don't want to read Avatar. So I think if I had to guess what, I think I'm gonna get a 3 on this one. I'm gonna get my 3rd choice book if I'm being a little bit conservative. Maybe I do better than that, but I watch a lot of hockey games. I think I'll have a good sense on this. So I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna spin my wheel 5 times for the games, and I will also let you know who I'm picking to win those games. Okay, I think I said there were 10 games tomorrow. There are actually 14 games going on tomorrow. Unfortunately, of those 14 games and 28 teams out of 32 in the league playing, the Colorado Avalanche are not one of them. That would, of course, be my first choice for literally any of these games because I know what's going on with Avalanche at all times because I'm obsessed. You know, we'll see when I spin. So we'll see what I get, and then I'll come in with my results later and tell you what I picked, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm going to give myself to Google what's up, who's injured, and that kind of stuff. Okay, first one, Maple Leafs, the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the San Jose Sharks. Again, Maple Leafs, a team I have no faith in. It's kind of a closer one to pick between two. I think the points against the Sharks are, they're playing tonight, so when they play tomorrow, they'll be on the second half of a back-to-back, which, you know, teams usually don't do as well on. You know what I didn't look up for these is who's playing away and who's playing home. I'm going to check that real quick. Okay, so I looked it up. The Sharks are playing at home tonight, and they're playing against the Anaheim Ducks, which is not going to be, you know, that's not that hard of a team to play against. I don't think they're going to be too worn out for tomorrow. They're also playing at home tomorrow, so it's a back-to-back home game situation, so that makes me feel a little bit better about it. The Maple Leafs just fired their GM, so I can't imagine, like, morale's super high right now with the team. You know, it's less of a change than firing your coach. It affects your day-to-day less, but they can't be feeling good about that. Austin Matthews is still hurt. He's been out with a knee injury. I'm picking the Sharks. I'm gonna spin again. And we're doing 5 of these, so. Next is... Ooh, the Calgary Flames versus the Vegas Golden Knights. Pick 2 is the Flames. This is probably my craziest pick. I'm gonna go with the Flames because I hate the Golden Knights. I'm not gonna get into it, but on like a moral level, I hate the Knights, and so I want to pick the Flames. They've been on kind of their own losing streak, but hey, maybe tonight's the night they turn it around. I was looking at, like, who might be in net. If Aiden Hill plays for the Golden Knights, I feel better about the Flames pick. I have no faith in Aiden Hill as a goalie ever. He's one of the ones I count on the most, but in general, the Vegas Golden Knights do not have good goaltending. And I don't know, maybe the Flames will throw Dustin Wolf in there and maybe he'll do something. That's, like, if the Flames win, that's probably my prediction, is that it's going to be, you know, a goaltender battle is what it's going to come down to. That, or I don't know. They just don't let the Golden Knights convert on the power play, probably. They keep special teams pretty under control. For against the Golden Knights, like I said when I spun the wheel, the Golden Knights just fired their coach, Bruce Cassidy, and they hired John Tortorella. Somebody made a good point in that John Tortorella is kind of a controversial coach, just for context. Some people do not like him. He's, like a brash personality, I guess, is how you could say it nicely. Somebody made a good point of he's a kind of, it is kind of like an interesting choice because he is kind of a good guy to, like, bring in, give you an immediate kind of boost. He tends to run into problems when he is in one place for too long and starts pissing people off. So maybe, like, this near to the end of the season, maybe that's a good boost for the Vegas Golden Knights, and maybe they get him out of Vegas before people start getting pissed with him. So maybe that brings in a boost for the team. So that could lead me to pick the Golden Knights against the Flames, but I'm gonna lean the other way and say, right out the gate, it's going to be, like, John Tortorella is going to try to do something different than Bruce Cassidy the first game. I think it's the first game that they'll be playing under him. It's got to be. I think he literally got hired, like, yesterday. So I think it'll be the first game. So I'm going to say that first game, there's going to be a little bit of growing pains. So going Flames. All right. Number 3 is the Columbus Blue Jackets versus the Carolina Hurricanes. I am picking the Hurricanes. It's kind of an easy one. The Blue Jackets are not that great. They're on a losing streak. I think they've lost their last 4. Don't think it's gonna end tonight. The Hurricanes are really good at, they, like, control a game. So you gotta come out with them with something. And I just don't think the Blue Jackets are particularly good at that. So I think it's probably gonna end up going the Hurricanes' way. Not that crazy of a pick. Number four. Oh no, I feel like this is a bad one. These are both teams that are like... This is the Nashville Predators versus the LA Kings. I'll get into it when I share what I pick, but oof, I'm not liking that one. I am picking the Kings over the Predators. This is a close one. So right now, the Predators are in the second wildcard spot for the West. They have, and the Kings are not in the playoffs right now. So the Predators have 77 points, and they played one more game than the Kings, who have 76 points, and played one less game than them. So it's close. So I'm predicting that the Kings are going to try to step it up. I would rather the Kings be in the playoffs than the Predators, but I don't feel that strongly about it. Even though whoever is in the second wild card spot is who the Avs are going to have to play in the first round of the playoffs. Whatever. Either one of those. I don't super care. But it's just been a sad season for the Kings. I feel bad for them. It's Anze Kopitar's last season. Kevin Fiala got hurt in the Olympics, and he's been out since then, which is a big blow to that team. Which could be something that would lead me to, pick against the Kings and whoever they were playing. But I'm going to go with them. I'm going to hope that they keep making the playoff race. I was going to say interesting. It's not that interesting because the Pacific Division in general just sucks so bad. So it's not like this is a particularly good race. But I'll say they keep it interesting and the Kings beat the Predators. It'd be a big game. Either whoever wins this one is a big game for them to win. So kind of a hard one. You'll hope that they really play hard. So okay, our last one is... Oh, is it going to be the Mammoth and the Kraken? It is, and it was right next to the Chicago Blackhawks and the Oilers. I would have liked that one better, but we got the Utah Mammoth and the Seattle Kraken. One I think might be a little bit tough. I'm picking the Mammoth. I have no faith in the Kraken. Ever. The Mammoth are I don't know. They're not, scrappy is not the right term. They're younger and funner and they got more going on, so picking them. Alright, now it's time to go over my results and figure out what fantasy book I'm going to be adding to my TBR. Just to remind you, here's what's at stake here. Number 1 is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher, if I got everything right. Number 2 is Emily Wilde. Number 3 is The Rag Picker King by Cassandra Clare. Number 4 is Shadow and Bone by Lee Bardugo. And number 5 is Sword of Kaigen. Number 6 is A Court of Thorns and Roses. Ooh. Alright, so I was watching some of these games last night. First one that came up was the Blue Jackets versus the Hurricanes. I watched some of this game, and I was right in the end. The Hurricanes won. The Blue Jackets really did not give much of a challenge, and I think after the second period they had 6 shots or something like that. So didn't look good for them. After that was the Flames and Golden Knights. I did not watch any of this game. But the Flames did not pull it out. It was tied 3-3. Looking at the score, it was tied 3-3 going in the third period, and then Calgary just let it go from there, I guess. After that was the Mammoth and the Kraken. This one I was right on. Didn't really watch any of that. I just know I was right in the end, and that's what's most important. The Maple Leafs and the Sharks, I watched pretty much this entire game. Anthony Stolarz was in net for the Maple Leafs, and he really helped the Sharks out a lot, and then also made some pretty crazy saves, or I don't know if they were crazy good, but they were crazy in that he was flinging around a lot, which usually means he was not in a good position in the first place. But he really helped the Sharks out in this game, and Macklin Celebrini, especially him with Will Smith, is just so fun to watch. So I was kind of glad to have an excuse to watch the Sharks, and they won. Last one, the Predators versus the Kings. They were tied at 4. It went into overtime. And I actually need to look up right now who won that game because I fell asleep last night. So I'll find out with you if I am reading either the Rag Picker King or Emily Wilde. Let's see. And Predators won. So I got that one wrong, which means I will be reading The Rag Picker King by Cassandra Clare, which is good. I am excited to read this. I think some people had like criticisms of the first Swordcatcher book by Cassandra Clare. It's her like first time in I don't even know how long writing outside of the Shadowhunters world. Had some criticism, so people had some criticism about her world building. I liked it. I really enjoyed being in that world. I don't know if it's like perfect world building, but I was just like when I was reading it, was just so excited to be there. So this is a good one. It wasn't at the top of my list. I did pretty alright. I got 3 out of 5 right. That's not bad. Okay, it's time to spin the wheels for round 2 of this. So let me pull up my wheel. Okay, I'll go ahead and spin for the book genre. Fantasy is done and dusted. Oh, we're getting horror. Looks like horror. Alright, I'll be right back. Okay, so for our horror books, number 1 is Japanese Gothic. I just got this from Aardvark. It's so gorgeous. It's in the mail on its way to me right now by Kylie Lee Baker. I'm so excited to read it. I loved Bad Eater and Other Names for Corazang. That was a 5-star for sure. Been excitedly waiting on this release like no other, basically. So that is at the top of my list. When that book gets to me, I want to read it. I'm worried that I won't get it. Number 2 is Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher. I think I said it before. I've just been reading a ton of T. Kingfisher. I just want to read everything she's ever written. So that just puts it slightly below Japanese Gothic for me. Number 3 is, I have it here, Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. Really, I have been wanting to read this. I am a little intimidated by it. I've been reading some other Stephen Graham Jones stuff recently, mostly his short stories, and those can also be pretty intimidating, but I do think he's a great writer, and I want to read a ton of his books. I'm just a little scared of it. So it's 3. Alright, The Hounding by Zenebi Purvis is number 4, just because I don't super have a reason to read this right now. I got it Aardvark a little bit ago. It sounded interesting at the time, and then nothing has compelled me to read it since, so it's kind of a mid option. Number 5 is Play Nice by Rachel Harrison. This is at 5 because I read Black Sheep earlier on in this year by Rachel Harrison. Loved it. It's a 5-star. I think it's my favorite book I've read so far this year. Makes me want to read more Rachel Harrison, but out of the synopses for Rachel Harrison, Play Nice is maybe the one I'm the least interested in. So it's kind of pushing myself to read something that wouldn't be my first choice, at least. Number 6 on this list, don't judge me for this one. It's Shy Girl by Mia Ballard. I want to preface this with, I bought this book like a year ago. This is the self-published version. And it was before I had ever seen any accusations of this book being written by AI. That I just saw this, thought it was really interesting. Some other stuff came up that kept me from reading it, but I wanted to read it. So it is 6 on this because I do still want to read it. I'm still curious, but it's obviously 6 because maybe AI was involved in writing this, which I don't agree with, and I don't think it is okay. AI should not be involved in art at all, period, is my opinion, but I already own it. So we're working with what we got, you know? All right, so next, let me pull up my wheel for what kind of bet I'm making. All right, we're spinning. Making my own parlay. Okay, this will be interesting. So in making my own parlay, I will be combining some different things. Okay, so I'm kind of co-opting the word parlay. I'm not following exactly what a parlay is, but a parlay is when you have a bet that is higher risk because you have different parts to it. You're kind of betting on different things all at once, and all of them have to win in order for you to get the payout for the parlay. I am not doing that though. I have different legs to my parlay, but they don't all have to win. Obviously, it's my scoring is based on how many legs of the parlay I get right. So, we're going with 5 again, 5 legs to a parlay, and so if I get 5 right, it'll be 1. If I get 0 right, I will read book number 6. I'm going to do some research on what legs to the parlay I'm going to do. So I'm going to do this for April 4th. There are a bunch of games on April 4th that'll give me a lot of opportunities. I'll pick different things for different games. But some of the, like, things that show up on, like, betting websites for, like, things you can bet on that are a little bit different are, like, over-unders on different things, like player shots, player assists, block shots even, the, like, total number of goals scored in a game, total goals in the first 10 minutes of the game, player points, power play points, yada yada. So I'll find various stuff across different games for April 4th, and we'll see how many of those I get right. Okay, I am going to tell you what my parlays were and give you the results for them all at once here. So for the games on April 4th, I chose whatever games I wanted to for this. I tried to pick an array of different bets too. Like I said, I don't do sports betting, so trying to, like, balance of, like, feeling like I was making this challenging, but not too challenging, was a little bit tough. Learning curve on this, but we'll just get into it. The first game that I bet something on is the Wild and Senators game. I picked Quinn Hughes to have over 2.5 shots. And the odds on that on nameless betting website were plus 140. Quinn Hughes ended the game with 2 shots. I was at the end of that game, I was just yelling at Quinn Hughes, like, take a shot, what a bum. But Cale Makar's better than Quinn Hughes anyway, so that was a loss for me. Next was the Avs and the Stars game. I picked the Avs to win by 1. I'm always going to root for my Avs and always going to bet on my Avs to win. They ended up winning 2-0. The second goal was an empty net goal with, like, I don't know, a minute or something left in the game. Maybe even less than that. So I was so excited though. I mean, I was, like, yelling at the TV at that point that the Avs won, so I was still happy for me, but the Avs won by 2, not by 1. So, that was a loss for me as well. That was the Canadiens Devils game. I was, like, looking up, I wanted to pick, like, a goal scorer or something. So for anytime goal scorer, I was looking at it, and apparently I just learned this in doing this, they call Cole Caulfield Mr. Saturday because he scores on Saturdays a lot. And he was at 49 goals for the season. So I was like, oh, maybe he'll get 50 today. Whatever. Figured I'd roll with him. He did not score a goal. I believe he got 1 point in that game. So that was another loss for me. So I haven't 0 out of 3 so far. Then was the Sabres Capitals game. My best friend is a Capitals fan, so I know a lot about the Capitals. Follow the Capitals a lot. Watch a lot of Capitals games. I have just been, like, really excited to watch. I'm a big fan of BU as well. And Cole Hudson is from there. Went to BU and now signed with the Capitals. So I was like, I'll bet on him. I took the over on points for him, so over 0.5 points. So basically he just has to score a point in the game. And I believe he got 1 assist. So that one was a win for me. The last game, Predators versus the Sharks, I picked... Well, okay. So I was looking at it, and I wanted to do this one because the Predators and the Sharks were tied in points, and they're both competing for that second wild card spot in the Western Conference, so I thought it would be like a good game, and I did watch some of it, and well, I watched most of it, and so I decided I would pick, you can do a first goal scorer, and you can do between 2 people of the options they have. I decided to go Macklin Celebrini or Will Smith, just because those 2 are so fun to play. They're so fun to watch play with each other. And Macklin Celebrini, I think, didn't score the game before, but he scores a lot, obviously. So I wanted to pick Macklin Celebrini for sure, and I thought it'd be fun to pick Will Smith too. That did not happen at all. The Predators scored the first 3 goals of the game. The first one was scored by Philip Forsberg, which the best odds on the picking either or first goal scorer was Macklin Celebrini or Philip Forsberg. I almost picked that one. Doesn't matter. Almost doesn't count. He scored the first goal. Not Macklin Celebrini. Will Smith had a really good chance after that, but he didn't score on it. And then Philip Forsberg scored a second goal. So he scored the first 2 goals of the game. Doesn't matter. I didn't get it. So I got 1 out of 5 right, which means I pick my number 5 choice for horror, which means I will be reading Play Nice by Rachel Harrison, which I'm excited about. So this was a tough one for me. I think I learned a lot about sports betting through this. Didn't go that well, but it was fun. It was really fun to like have some stakes on these like random NHL games I don't care about, and one Avs game that I did very much care about. So alright, it is time to spin for number 3. So I'm gonna pull up my genre spinner, see what we get. Looks like it's gonna be sequels. Okay. Alright, so for sequels, the first one I have is Mammoths at the Gates by Niveau. It is in the Singing Hills cycle. It is, I believe it's the number 4 book in the series. These books are super short. They're around 100 pages-ish, and so this is a super easy sequel to read and knock out. I usually read these in like a day. I just pick a day and read it all. Number 2 is Us Against You by Frederick Bachman. I love Beartown. It's my favorite book I read last year. 5 stars for sure. But I'm scared to read sequels in general, but especially for things I love. I'm always afraid of them being retroactively ruined or something. I don't think it will. I've heard good things about this book, but I also heard from the person who recommended Beartown to me in the first place that the sequels, when she was reading them, she felt a little bit like, okay, why do these exist? They didn't feel as necessary. But I love the characters, and some of my favorite characters are really, really big in this world, like characters I would kill and die for. So, I want to read this. For those who don't know, Beartown is about this town in Sweden that is struggling and really, really depends on their junior hockey team to be good. And then there is an incident with one of the players on the hockey team, and it's kind of about this town and how they react to that and the fallout from that and everything. So it is a book in which hockey is a part of it, but it is not something that I think you have to love hockey to read, but it is funny. It is a part of this thing where I'm doing hockey sports betting. Number 3 is What Feasts at Night. It's by T. Kingfisher. Like I said, I've been reading a lot of T. Kingfisher. The first one is What Moves the Dead. I read a little bit ago. These books are also really short. I just haven't been as moved to read the sequel for this one for some reason. Yeah, I don't know. I will. I'll get to it eventually. So it's number 3 on this list because I feel kind of, a little lukewarm about it. Number 4 is The Long Game by Rachel Reed. So I read Heated Rivalry years ago, like way before all this, the TV show came out, obviously. And I never read The Long Game. I read every other Game Changers Rachel Reed book. I never read The Long Game. Again, I think I'm like afraid of sequels. I'm like afraid of things being ruined for me, even though I think it's supposed to be good. So, this is number 4, and I've been putting it off because in order to read it, I would want to reread Heated Rivalry. So it's like 2 books for the price of 1. And I don't know, that's not a bad thing. I like Heated Rivalry. It's not even my favorite Game Changers book, controversial opinion, but that's why it's number 4. It'll still be good and fun to read, but I'll have to read both of them for that. Number 5 is The World We Make by N.K. Jemisin. I read The City We Became is the first book. I read that a few years ago. I had no clue there was ever going to be a sequel. I read it. I enjoyed it. It's kind of a tough read. There are parts of it that are kind of abstract, I guess, is maybe the best way to put it. And so you have to, I don't know, you have to think while you're reading it for sure. But it's just a bit of a slower read. It took me a while to get through, but I enjoyed it, and I like the concept of it is that like these, when cities become kind of big and important enough in the world, there are these people who kind of become the embodiment of these cities, and there is, I don't remember the name of it, there's some other force that is trying to destroy these cities. And I'd probably have to like read a short little plot summary of how the first one ended up because it's been a few years, but I do want to read it for sure. It just, again, like it's kind of a little bit of a tougher read, so that's why it's lower on the list, but I would still be excited to get that one. Number 6 is We Love You, Bunny by Mona Awad. This I bought, and I've heard I don't know if I've heard from really anyone being like, love this. I love Bunny by Mona Awad. If you don't know, Bunny by Mona Awad is about this character. She is in like a writing program at her school. There is this group of this other girls who call each other Bunny, and they have their own group, and she gets pulled into this weird group of girls, and it goes off the rails a little bit. It's a great book. I've read a bunch of my friends read it, and I don't really make them read books, but I made them read Bunny. I love it very much. Part of what makes Bunny so great is you don't super know what is real, what isn't. The ending is kind of, I love the ending. It's one of those endings where it ends and your immediate instinct maybe is to hate it, and then you're like, oh wait, this is actually sick. But it's kind of open a little bit, and having a sequel kind of prequel, I think, is also kind of the thing for this. I think ruins that a little bit. I think Bunny was meant to be a standalone, and was disappointed that this existed, but then got excited for it, and then heard a bunch of bad things, and so that's why it's number 6 on the list. This is something that could retroactively ruin Bunny just a little bit. So next I'm gonna roll for what I'm betting on. Alright. So today is April 5th. There are 7 games being played today, so I think I'm gonna roll with whatever happens today. The Wild Red Wings game is about to start as I'm doing this. 1 game. Okay, let me pull up my rules for that. So, like I said, there are 7 games today. For 1 game, I get to pick whatever game out of the 7 games today. The point of 1 game is to kind of pick the game where I think I can pick the winner, but also can pick what's going to be the biggest goal differential between these teams. I think this one's going to be sneakily tough. I thought this one might be easier before, but it might be hard. I'll look at the games today. So the breakdown for this one is I get to read my number 1 pick if the team that I picked to win wins by 3 goals or a shutout, which means the other team doesn't score a goal at all. I guess read number 2, if the team I picked won in regulation, so they didn't go to overtime. 3, is the team I picked won in overtime. 4 is the team I picked lost in overtime. 5 is the team I picked lost in regulation. And 6 is the team I picked lost by 3 goals or by a shutout, so they didn't score a goal. So I am going to look through the games today. I'm going to pick the game that I feel most confident about a winner of, and that I feel like they could win by more goals. So I'll come back and I'll let you know what I decide for that. Okay, wanted to check in real quick. The Wild Red Wings game is just about to start. So out of these 7 games today, I've decided I'm going to pick the Avs. I'm going to pick the Avs to beat the Blues. I went back and forth on it. It's the second half of a back-to-back for the Avs. They played the Dallas Stars last night. Obviously, I talked about that game earlier. And obviously would have fought hard against the Stars. Cale Makar is still out hurt. And Mackenzie Blackwood is going to be in net. So, those are a few things that make it a little bit shakier. But I wanted to pick the Avs partially because I believe in Mackenzie Blackwood. I think he's been struggling a little bit lately, but I think he can get it done. The Blues are not a scary team to me ever. Their goaltending's bad, and I just think that is the most likely game to have a big goal differential in the Avs' favor. The other game I debated was doing the Panthers and the Penguins. The Panthers and the Penguins played each other yesterday as well. They playing each other 2 times in a back-to-back, which is like a little bit weird. I don't know. I feel like that doesn't happen that often. And the Penguins won 9-4 last night. So that maybe would be a good one to pick. Maybe that's going to happen again, but I don't know. I kind of feel like they'll both take it easier today, maybe. It'll be a closer game. And it looked like Stuart Skinner was going to be it. I go off goalies a lot. It looks like Stuart Skinner is going to be in net for the Penguins, and I just don't. He seems like a lovely, lovely person. I just don't have very much faith in Stuart Skinner. I think this game will just be a little bit more blah after a 9-4 game the night before. You know, I feel like everyone will have less energy. So I'm going to go with my Avs. And we'll see how it goes. Well, the Avs lost. Okay, so I'm here to give my results for this third one. I picked the Avs to beat the Blues. My scoring was as follows. The Avs lost by 1 to the Blues in regulation. So, because I lost in regulation, The World We Make by N.K. Jemisin is what I'm going to read. I'm going to get that from the library as soon as I can. I'm excited for that one. Like I said, it's been a while since I read the first one. Talked a lot about it, interesting stuff. I think, it'll be good to dig into. It'll be a little bit, like I said, a little bit more of a challenging read for me, but that'll be good. And how'd the game go? You know what? I'm okay. I underrate being on the second half of a back-to-back in general. But the Avs looked a little bit tired. Which I should have rated higher, especially after they just played the Dallas Stars, who are a team they're gonna play really, really hard because they're like most direct competitors right now. And you know, it's not the end of the world. Wasn't the worst game ever. Wasn't great, but Joel Hofer, I can't remember, was in net for the Blues. And he had one part where he just came out of the net so far, he was making me so uncomfortable. And then he lost his skate blade, was so far out of the net, and then he sat on Arturi Lehkonen for like so long. That was the weirdest, most interesting part of the game, probably. And Parker Kelly got 20 goals. Good for him. Love Parker Kelly. So I'm not that upset about this loss, but maybe I should be less biased about my Avs. I should maybe think about it a little bit. But also, Valeri Nichushkin found out he wasn't going to play watching the game. Apparently that information came out, like, right before the game. So, I don't know if that would have really changed my mind. But that wasn't a good omen. So, I'm going to spin for my next one. I'll go ahead and spin for the genre right now, which is miscellaneous. Okay. I didn't really have another good, like, group. I didn't know the wheel made a noise. I don't know if you heard that. I didn't really have another good group for the miscellaneous one, so I just threw a bunch of stuff in together. So, let me see if I can grab the ones I have from there. Okay, so number one on my miscellaneous thing is Sky Daddy by Kate Folk. I want to read this so badly right now. I read Kate Folk's short story book a little bit ago. Didn't realize it was the same author as Sky Daddy. Sky Daddy was like a book I had seen around a lot, but it kind of got grouped in for me in a bunch of people I watched around the same time put out videos about inanimate object romances. So if you don't know, Sky Daddy is about this woman who's like in love with planes. Like romantically and sexually in love with planes. And a few people put out videos about inanimate object romances around the same time. And like Sky Daddy was included in a lot of those. And a lot of the other ones in those were like so silly, goofy, stupid. Like, it's just a joke. Like, there's one where it's like, it's a marshmallow and graham cracker and chocolate, and it's just gonna be like really, really sexual, but also like a bunch of jokes about how they're s'mores and stuff like that. Or, I mean, I just saw one recently about like this woman turns into a chicken nugget and then she's like romancing all these different sauces and stuff. That stuff is not appealing to me. I like it, it's like funny, silly, goofy. It's not, I don't want to read that. It's not appealing to me. So Sky Daddy kind of got grouped in with that stuff in my mind, and I've realized recently it's not like that at all. It sounds way more like something I would enjoy, and I liked Kate Folk's short story collection, so I just like really, really badly want to read this one right now. So it's at the top of my list. Number 2, Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. I feel like people have been talking about this a lot recently. I think it was in a lot of people's like wrap-ups of the year of like best books they read. This just seems like a good read, like a good literary fiction thing to kind of sink your teeth into. Sounds good. I've never read one from this author, but I'm excited about this one. Number 3 is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is kind of the only one of the like main Taylor Jenkins Reid books that I haven't read before. I don't really know why. It's just kind of happened. It is a goal of mine to definitely read this year, and I would like to do it. I just don't know why it's not, like, grabbing me enough that this is the next one I reach for at any given point. I think I've been really close, like, a few times, but it's just never happened. So, 3 is kind of, it's kind of in the middle, I guess. Next is Normal People by Sally Rooney, which is, a little bit intimidating. That's why it's further down. I've never read a Sally Rooney book. I want to. This is one of my friend's favorite books. It's his favorite book. And so he bought this for me, I'm pretty sure. And I do need to read it at some point, but I am like scared of it. Because I've heard the stuff about like, I think I'll be fine with like the no quotation marks and stuff. I think, like, once I get into it. And, but, again, intimidating. It's also, like, I like reading other people's favorite books, but sometimes it's also scary, like, going into it. I don't know. Number 5 is Lullaby by Chuck Palahniuk. I can't remember if that's how you say his name. I picked this up a little bit ago because I was looking at it. It was pretty cheap at the bookstore, and then it was on Goodreads. And I thought there was this really interesting like talk in the Goodreads comments of like this thing I didn't understand about Chuck Palahniuk, which is like, he is the author who wrote Fight Club. And I read Fight Club and I like Fight Club a lot. It's right back there. But I didn't know that like he as an author is like, has this like weird thing where there's like people who are like really into him, and the people who are not really into him have like this like view of those people as being like, I don't know, like artificial about it, or like they're a certain type of person. but also the type of person who would, like, lean into kind of pretending to like something because it, like, seems more literary or something. I don't know. There's this weird, like, if you look at the Goodreads reviews for this, I think you'll pick up on what I'm trying to say here. If you read through a few of them, there's people who, like, don't get him as an author and are kind of like, what do the people who get it see in him, but also are questioning if it's an authentic feeling from them. I don't know. So that made me intrigued of, like, is this, like, guy an author for me? But that also made this book, like, more intimidating. It's pretty short. So it's kind of lower down the list, but this is still something I want to read. It's something I bought and I want to read. 6 is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. So, with the Wuthering Heights movie coming out recently, I was, like, debating whether I should see it, yada yada yada. I didn't, but I was talking about it with my friend, and she was like, we should read Wuthering Heights. And then I, like, read the first page and was like, this is a lot, and I don't feel like reading this right now. I am, despite me making a TBR right now, it is a little bit guided because I am kind of a mood reader, and I'm not often in the mood for, like, this era of stuff, particularly written in this era, not just, like, of this era, like, set in this era. Just, like, haven't read a ton of, I should probably maybe push myself to read some more classics, which is why I did end up buying this, and I will read it eventually, but, it's 6 because I just don't really want to read it right now. I don't really want to read a classic at all right now, so that's why it's 6. So then I'm gonna stop yapping, and I'm gonna get to spinning on what my next thing I'm gonna bet on is. Alright, we got 3 of those left. Let's see what we get. I don't know what the red one is. Oh, it's gonna be puck lines. Alright, so I am gonna define that for you. Okay, so a puck line is a point spread for hockey games. Usually they're plus or minus 1.5 for the teams involved. So the -1 will be the favorite to win. The plus will be, like, the underdog, I guess. And if you are betting on the minus, they have to win by over 1.5 goals, so they have to win by 2 goals. Or if you're betting on the plus, then you win the bet if they win the game or if they only lose by 1. So I'm going to be doing what I did for, like, the Moneyline one earlier, where I spin for 5 games, and I have to pick on the puck line for each of those. I'm just looking up the NHL schedule right now. So I think it's going to make sense for me to do that for April 7th for the games. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There are 11 games on April 7th. So I'm going to put those on a wheel. I'm going to spin the 5, and then next time I see you after that will be me telling you what I picked. Alright, we are spinning for my team. The games I am betting the puck line on for April 7th. And I'm going to mute the wheel spinning because it pisses me off. What's that? It is Lightning versus Senators. Okay, I'm fine with this. So for the Lightning versus the Senators, I'm gonna take the Senators. They have the -1.5, which means I am betting that the Senators will win the game by 2 goals or more. Tampa played the night before. This time I'm taking the back-to-back a little bit more seriously. So Tampa played the night before. They played Vasilevsky, so I'm thinking Jonas Johansson will be in net for Tampa, and I mean, almost no one is as good as Vasilevsky, but, you know, Jonas Johansson's not. And, you know, the Lightning have some injuries and stuff, too. I think, like, Brandon Hagel and Sorelli, I think, are out, so that's not looking great for them. So I'll pick the Senators. And next is... it's gonna be the Avs versus the Blues. The Avs played the Blues 2 nights previously. And that was one where that was the one where I bet on the game winner and I bet the Avs would win and they did not. So maybe they'll come back and beat the Blues. I'll think about it a little bit. The Avs versus the Blues. I bet on the last Avs and the Blues games that the Avs would win. They did not. This time I'm betting that they will win. I don't think the Blues will beat them twice in a row like this. So I'm taking the Avs, which have the negative 1.5. So they have to win by 2 goals or more. I think it'll happen. This one I feel pretty confident on, especially with how they just lost to them. I don't think it'll happen twice, so. Predators versus the Ducks. Okay. I'm alright with this as well. Then the Predators versus the Ducks. This is the one where I'm taking the plus. I'm taking for the Predators, the plus 1.5. The Preds also did play last night, and they played Saros. Who is better than their other goalie, Justus Annunen. But the Ducks have lost the last 5 games in a row. So I don't feel like they have a lot of good momentum right now either, and I think maybe this will be like a closer game. So I didn't want to bet that the Ducks would beat them by 2. I figured it might be a closer one. So maybe even the Predators don't win, but it's close, is my guess. It's the number 4, the Golden Knights and the Canucks. Oh man, the Canucks suck. I say that when they beat the Avs recently, like really bad. Golden Knights and Vancouver. I said it when I spun the wheel. The Canucks suck. So I'll pick against the Canucks. The Golden Knights especially are like a team that can just like, I don't know, they'll just score a bunch of goals. So I'm taking the Golden Knights with the negative 1.5. All right, last one, number 5, is the Panthers versus the Canadiens. All right. Last is the Panthers and the Canadiens. I'm going to take the Canadiens on this one with they have the negative 1.5. I mean, the Panthers have been super injured all season, but also Matthew Tkachuk is out tonight. So he's out I think he like just got hurt. So I think that is making me lead towards the Canadiens. The Panthers aren't going to be in the playoffs, so I don't know. What are they playing for at this point? I guess I don't know. Maybe they'll have a quieter night. Okay, I have the results for my puck lines now, so I'll walk through those. The Lightning and the Senators. I won on this bet. The game at the end of it was 6-2 in favor of the Senators, so they beat them by 4 goals. So that one worked out for me. The Avs and the Blues game. The Avs won that one 3-1, so they won by 2. They just made it. Did I watch this game? No, I didn't watch this game, but I know Valeri Nichushkin scored twice. So hell yeah. The Predators versus the Ducks. What was the score on that one? Oh, it was 5-0 in favor of the Predators. So the Predators really routed the Ducks. That's 6 losses in a row for the Ducks. Golden Knights and Canucks. Game ended up being 2-1 in favor of the Golden Knights. So the Golden Knights still won, but they didn't win by 2 goals. So I still lost on that bet. I don't know what they were doing. I didn't watch that game. Panthers versus the Canadiens. This one went to a shootout. So, the Canadiens won 4-3 in the end because they won the shootout, but I still lost on my bet for that because they didn't win by 2. So what that means, I got 3 right, which means I will be adding Daisy Jones and the 6 to my TBR, which I'm excited about. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid books. I think reading this one means I will be able to like complete my power ranking of the Taylor Jenkins Reid books. For context, I'll put my power ranking here. Carrie Soda is back is my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid book, but I like all of them. I think they're all I don't know, they're probably all at least 4-star books for me. love me some Taylor Jenkins reads. So this is good. I'm excited. This is one I needed to read this year. Like, is one of the ones I had bookmarked. Like, it needs to happen at some point this year. So sooner rather than later. Sounds good to me. So now I'm going to spin for genre. We just have thrillers and romances left. 2 scary, scary ones for me. Thrillers. Okay, let's see what's on the thrillers list. Number 1 on the thrillers, I have Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. I read Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister a little bit ago, and that's one of my favorite thrillers I've read. I'm trying to find more thrillers I like. I'm having a hard time. I think if I find an author I like, I should probably read another one of hers. Famous Last Words sound interesting. I think Gillian McAllister's premises usually have a little bit of something else going on, which makes it intriguing for me. So, number 2 is King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby. Off the top of my head, could not tell you what this is about. But, I know people like it. It seems interesting. Like, I remember knowing what it was about at some point. So, I'll put it as 2. 3 is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I think I'll call myself out. I've been a little bit judgy about Frida McFadden without having read literally anything by her. And my sister has kind of like gotten into reading books recently, which is cool because she has never loved reading at all. Even when we were kids, she just never really liked it. And she's just started reading books for fun recently. And part of that is Frida McFadden. And so, I'm like, she said read The Housemaid, and I know that's kind of I think that's like the most popular one. And so I want to read The Housemaid because my sister read it and I want to talk about it with her. It's exciting that she's getting into reading. So that's number 3 for me, just because I wouldn't pick it up myself if my sister didn't say she wanted me to read it. 4 is Final Girls by Riley Sager. This one I got recently. In another video, you'll see me talk about getting this book. I don't know whether it's going to come out before or after this one, but I did recently, somebody talked about this book recently, saying they hated it on YouTube. Did not give any details, but said it in a passive way, and it made it drop down a little bit for me, just because it's someone who I think I tend to have similar-ish taste to. I can't remember who it was, but I do remember it made this drop a few points in my head, but I'm still excited to read it. I've read one other Riley Sager. I didn't love it. It was a 3-star, so I figured this will probably be fine. 5 is The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. So this is another one I've heard a lot about, and I read another book by Geneva Rose, and I really did not like it. I think mostly because a lot of the book was trying to sell you on this. It wasn't a romance book, it was a thriller book, but there was a romance aspect to it that you're not meant to fully buy into, but it took up so much of the page length that it was pissing me off, because I was these two are really cringy and awful, and I don't want to read about their weird relationship anymore. Not weird in an interesting way either, just weird in a cringy way. But there were some things about her writing that I did like. I liked how she described weird animalistic stuff. I feel like she could be a good horror writer. I don't know. That's just my thought. But Perfect Marriage is, I know, one I've heard about. I don't think I've heard good things. I think sometimes it's good to read a thriller that you haven't heard good things about, though, because it will at least keep you entertained. You know what? The worst thing to me is a boring thriller. I would rather have a thriller I hate than a thriller I felt about. And I don't feel that way for every genre of book, but I feel that way especially for thrillers. So I figured I would probably have an opinion on this book if I read it at least. 6 is one I would definitely have an opinion on. It's Verity by Colleen Hoover. Okay, so I also am judgy about Colleen Hoover, again, without having ever read a Colleen Hoover book. And her brand of romance books is not appealing to me at all. But Verity is more of a thrillery kind of one. And I know a lot about it. I've kind of had a lot of this book spoiled for me, which I think will make reading it, if it is the one I get, easier, but also kind of fun because you're just kind of like along for the roller coaster. And I think it's okay to be spoiled on some things sometimes, especially when you're like, it's your, your number 6 option that you're least wanting to get on a TBR challenge like this. So I'd say that's number 6. Okay, I need to spin for the next one. So we only have 2 left. Let me pull up my wheel that has 2 things on it. Alright, see what we get. Oh, this is me. I'm spinning for the betting type right now. It is anytime / first time goal scorer. Okay, so I'll break down the scoring for this one because I kind of mixed some things together. Okay, so I'll explain what the first time / anytime goal scorer betting is. I have like my little chart over here again. So I'm going to pick 5 people who are playing tomorrow, April 9th, because there are 14 games tomorrow, I think. So it gives me a lot of options. I'm going to pick 5 guys. One of them I'm going to pick who I'm going to say he is going to be the first goal scorer of his game. If he is first goal scorer and I am correct on that, then I get to read my number 1 choice. And we don't even have to look at the other ones. Because it's such a low chance. Like, picking the first time goal scorer is tough. And I think I'm also not going to roll for games for this one. I'm just kind of going to pick what I feel in my heart. The other 4 are just going to be anytime goal scorers. So then the following ones are all, I got 4 right, I got 3 right, I got 2 right. So if they score in their game at all, then I get the point for that one. This one, I don't know how it's going to go. I don't think I'm going to get the first time goal scorer right. But there are always, there are some guys who are safe bets. So we'll see. I'll try not to I'm going to try not to be too crazy with my picks. I think some of these I'm overthinking. I'm you can't go too easy with it. All right. I have determined my picks for my first time goal scorer / anytime goal scorer. Again, these are for the games on April 9th. And I didn't limit myself to any teams or games or whatever. I just kind of looked at it broadly. A little bit of a mix here. I think it's harder on these ones where I didn't pick games or something where there's not as tough for parameters, because I think I make it harder on myself and I'm well, I can't just pick the easy answer. Even though if I was literally betting my own money, I would pick an obvious answer. But so I have some obvious ones, I have some less obvious ones. My first time goal scorer, I'm gonna pick Jack Hughes for the Devils. They're playing the Pittsburgh Penguins. Jack Hughes is just good, and I think he hasn't scored the last couple of games if I remember right, and so it just feels like, I don't know, he's probably just due for one. I don't know if that's a good way to think. Yeah, he hasn't scored the last 2 games, so it just feels like he's probably due for one. That guy scores a lot, so I'm betting on him first goal scorer of the game. I didn't factor the Penguins too much into that equation, but my next one is in the Lightning and Canadiens game. I am going to pick Nikita Kucherov. This is another one I feel like, Nikita Kucherov is an incredible player, and he's, in the Hart race, and he scores a lot. So I think this is a safer one. Next, Jets versus the Blues. This is another guy who I think is due one. So I picked Mark Scheifele. Mark Scheifele has scored a ton this season. Kind of has gone under the radar, I think, because the Jets have been pretty bad. Especially in comparison to last season. And he's gone the last 5 games without scoring. He only has one other stretch this season where he went 5 games without scoring. Other than that, he's scoring every other game basically. So I don't think this is going to be the stretch, hopefully for him, where he goes over 5 games without scoring again. So again, I think he's probably due one tonight. That was for the Jets versus the Blues. My next pick is just like a fun pick because I like this guy, but also like he does score a lot. In the Carolina Hurricanes versus the Chicago Blackhawks, I'm gonna pick Andrei Svechnikov. He is my favorite Hurricanes player. I just I like him, so I'm gonna pick him on this one. I didn't want to pick I don't know, like from the Hurricanes, like the guy who has the best odds is like Sebastian Aho. So I was like, I won't pick the guy at the very top, but like I think of the Hurricanes, Andrei Svechnikov is like the third best odds or something like that for anytime goal scorer because he does score a lot. So figured I'd do that. And then, would you believe it? I had to choose somebody for the Avs game. So the Avs are playing, Colorado Avalanche are playing the Calgary Flames tonight. And this was the one where I was like, okay, I can go the most off the board because this is my team and I know them. I thought about doing Parker Kelly because he has scored a lot. He got 20 goals for this season, which is a high for him, and it's just awesome. But I don't know, maybe maybe tonight will be a chiller night because he got his 20 goals. He got his whale named after him. So maybe it'll be a chiller night for him. I also contemplated picking Ross Colton because he's been really snake bitten recently, and it like has to go in for him at some point. I have to believe, but like he scored a goal a couple of games ago and he got it called back for offsides. It like wasn't his fault. So he does feel due for one. So I almost picked him, but I decided to pick Logan O'Connor. Logan O'Connor was out injured most of the season. He's had games back since I think 8, maybe was what it said when I looked at his thing earlier, somewhere around there. Games since he came back from his injury. He was out injured for obviously a super long time, so it takes a second to, you know, like get back into it. But I don't know, it just feels like Logan O'Connor's gonna score at some point. He's a 4th line guy, so again, this is like somebody, I mean, look at the odds, it's not like a crazy odds that he'll score. But I think the Avs probably, I mean, last game they played against the Flames, they scored a lot, so I think they'll score a lot of goals. I think Logan O'Connor will end up being one of those. Yeah, I just want to see him score a goal. I'm so glad he's back, so he's my pick. Fingers are crossed for that one. Yeah, those are all my picks. All right, I just found out Andrei Svechnikov is not playing tonight, so I have to go ahead and pick somebody else real quick because, I mean, the Hurricanes Blackhawks game is just about to start, and there are a few games after that, but I obviously can't pick from a game that's already, like, started, so, who else is there? Wild and Stars, Predators and Mammoth. If I was gonna go Wild or Stars, I could do Kirill Kaprizov on the Wild, would be a good bet. And I like him. He's my favorite Wild player, even though I hate the Wild generally and usually think they're boring. But I think Kirill Kaprizov is really fun to watch play. I wouldn't want to pick someone for the Stars, maybe. Predators and Mammoth. I mean, Philip Forsberg could be a good pick from the Predators. Sharks Ducks. I could pick Matt Celebrini or Will Smith again just to double down on that. I'm going to go Jack Eichel, I think. Yeah, I'm going to go Jack Eichel on the Golden Knights against the Kraken, and that game still has like an hour and a half before it, a little over an hour and a half before it starts, so I'm locking in Jack Eichel now. Okay, so we're going to go over my results for the first time, anytime goal scorers. These are for the games on April 9th. First up was the Lightning's Canadiens game. I picked Nikita Kucherov, and he did not score. So that was a loss. Second, I had the Penguins Devils game, and for this one I picked my first-time goal scorer, which was Jack Hughes. The Predators scored the first 3 goals of that game. And then Jack Hughes scored the 5th goal. But that doesn't count because I picked him as my first-time goal scorer, so that is still a loss for me. But I would like to show you, that day, pulled this Jack Hughes card, and I want to read to you what the back says because it feels like a slap in the face. Hughes opened the scoring on February 4th, 2025, and then talks about his goal. At the end of it says, he scored the first goal of the game 6 times on the season. How did I just happen to pick a card that talks specifically about him scoring the first goal of the game on the day that I pick him and he doesn't do it? I just thought that was funny. Then was the Jets and the Blues. I picked Mark Scheifele. He had not gone the entire season without having 5 games in a row where he hadn't scored, except for one other time. And this time, this was his 6th game without scoring. He did not score. That was also a loss. Then I had to pivot from Andrei Svechnikov because he was not playing that night. I picked Jack Eichel. Jack Eichel did not score. And my last one was the Avs-Flames game. I picked Logan O'Connor. He did not score. I got 0 right. So, here's a sentence I never thought I would be saying, but I will be reading a Colleen Hoover book. I will be reading Verity. I did not think that was going to happen. So, we're going to move into my last one. Obviously, I don't have to spin wheels for those. And I'll just tell you, I already figured out what I'm going to do for it. Before we do that, actually, let's go back through these. So, let's see how bad I've done. For the first one, I had to pick my 3rd pick in terms of books. Then it was the 5th one. Then it was the 5th one. Then it was the 3rd one again. And this last one, I was the 6th one. So, I've not been doing good. I have a 6, and I haven't done better than 3. So I would really like to do good on this last one, but we'll see. This is also the most dangerous category for me in terms of genre. What I like in romances is really narrow, and I will read that over and over again. What I like in romances is a gay hockey romance, and I'll read a million of those, and only complain sometimes, honestly. So I want to try some different stuff, so I did kind of push myself with this. But the first one that I picked on this is not pushing myself at all. It is The Fall by Tal Bauer. Tal Bauer wrote 2 of my favorite gay hockey romance books ever, and just recently I was like, man, I really wish he had written another one. And then I found out he had in fact written another one, and I haven't read it yet. I would love to read that.
Go to the box, please. Go to the box, please. Now. Arizona number 20.
Number 3 is Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. So this one already kind of getting a little, I'm further away from what I usually like. I don't super care about straight people romances. There's very few straight romance books I've liked. But I did kind of want to try, like, a cowboy one. And I know a lot of people really like these. This one sounded the most interesting to me. It's not the first one in the series. I think it's, like, the 4th. But whatever. You can read them out of order, I'm sure. And this is, like, kind of a second chance one. And those are appealing to me. So I figured this one I feel, like, not awesome about. But, like, okay about. Like, I would like to try it. Number 4. Number 4 is another straight one and another sports one, but I didn't want to do hockey. So it's Caught Up by Liz Tom Ford. She is the Windy City series that I know a lot of people really love too. This is the 3rd one in that series. I intentionally did not want to pick one of the hockey ones. Like, my favorite hockey romances are the one where they're both. The ones where they're both hockey players. I think those are just more interesting. And so that, that's not going to be a thing in straight ones. I mean, they could both be hockey players, but, like, they're, that's not going to be as much of a thing in straight ones. And, like, Face Off doesn't look appealing, so. Caught Up is a baseball one. So the baseball player has a kid, and she's like a little more, I don't know, free-spirited and fun and stuff, and he like has a kid and has to be like serious. I don't know. Number 5. So there are a lot of romance authors that are obviously really super humongous. Oh no, what's her name? Allie Hazelwood. Allie Hazelwood was who I was trying to think of. I did not pick an Allie Hazelwood book. Allie Hazelwood was one of those. Emily Henry, Abby Jimenez, These are like people I see a lot of. Allie Hazelwood does not sound like my kind of speed from what I've seen. I think it's possible though. I could like one of those other ones maybe. So I was looking at some of them. I just came up with Beach Read by Emily Henry is going to be in at number 5. It's not super exciting to me. Again, it's straight people and it's not a sports one. And but I am like curious, especially like I said, these are like really, really big authors. A lot of people really love these. So I am like curious to like at least try it out. That was the one I picked from that. Number 6 isn't more as like the more interesting, I guess. Number 6 is just it's not a specific book. It's just I go to the little free libraries near me, and the first one I see that has like the mass market paperback romance books that like have a Fabio on the cover or look kind of Bridgerton-y or something, I just have to pick like the first one of those I see basically. Or if there are multiple in the same little library, I'll let myself pick between them. But I don't get to scour. It's like whatever I first encounter. So that was really throwing the dice on that one, which I thought might be fun. So those are my romance options. I'll tell you what I'm betting on. My last betting on thing is draft a team. I wanted to do like have my own fantasy hockey team for one night. I don't play fantasy hockey. I always want to, but like when I try to get people I know in real life to do it with me, they don't want to because they just think I'm gonna win. So even my own father was like, you're just gonna beat me, so I don't want to do it. So I think next season I'll just join one with random people. But so I wanted to kind of draft my own hockey team for a night. I was trying to think of ways I could kind of like limit myself in this and not just pick like the best players, because you know when you draft a hockey team for fantasy hockey at the beginning of the season, you're drafting against other people, so you don't just get free reign to pick whoever you want. But I can't do that, obviously. So what I came up with was just giving myself a cap, like a salary cap. So NHL teams have a cap for their teams that is $95,500,000. That's for their whole roster, and there's like other contracts and stuff to worry about. But I just took that, divided by that by the 23 roster players, and got a number from that, and then multiplied that by 6 to get as my cap that I gave myself, which worked out to be around $25 million. So my cap for tonight is I have to have all 6 of these players together. The salary that they're making for this season has to be under $25 million. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pick 6 players to draft a team for tonight, which is April 13th. I'm going to pick 5 skaters and a goalie. And go off of how many like fantasy points they would get me, and that'll be what determines what book I get to read. So my scoring system is just, I ran through a few practices of doing this. I did 8 of those, and just to get a sense for like how many points I could be getting for this to try to make it fair and even for myself. This is the point system I'm going to be using. It was just like the most simple one, the first one that comes up. You can do a lot of different points things for fantasy. This one seemed really easy. I'm just going to do this. So I ran this 8 times, just picking some random guys on some recent games recently. The scores I got when doing that, like from lowest to highest, were 17.8, 22, 23.7, 27.1, 27.5, 36.6, 48.6, and then 55.8. I think the 17.8 at the low end is pretty likely I could get something like that again. The 55.8 I think is almost impossible. That is crazy that happened, and I think Kirill Kaprizov and Will Cooley both got hat tricks on the night that happened. And I think something subconsciously I was trying to, like, I just picked for games that happened recently and was, like, trying not to look at who the points people got, but I must have been thinking about Kirill Kaprizov and Will Kelly because I knew this happened or something, because that's crazy. There's no way I ever picked two guys who have hat tricks on the same night, and everyone else did really well too. It was weird. So I don't think there's any chance that happens again. But my first pick, I have to get over a 50. I think it's basically impossible. But I'm just making it real simple, so I'm doing over 50, 40 to 50, 30 to 40, 20 to 30, 10 to 20, and then I have to read my sixth pick if I get less than 10 points for the night. Which doesn't seem very likely. So, we'll see. Here are the guys that I picked. I tried to pick, of my skaters, 2 defensemen and 3, they're wingers, centers. One of them, yeah. So, one of my wingers is Jason Robertson. He plays for the Dallas Stars. He makes $7,750,000. My strategy with this was to pick a couple guys who made a lot of money and I know are really good, and to pick a couple guys on entry-level contracts, which is, I don't know, it's not cheating, because again, real teams in real life do this, so why can't I? So Jason Robertson is obviously one of those guys. He gets paid a lot, he scores a lot, he gets a lot of points. I thought that was a pretty good bet. Connor Bedard is my next pick. He makes $950,000 because he is still on, this is last year of his entry-level contract, which means, you can only get paid so much. And that feels like I'm like a pretty safe one. I should stop saying that though, because I'm going to jinx myself. But, I like Macklin Celebrini more than I like Connor Bedard generally, but I already picked Macklin Celebrini for another one of these, and I got burned before, so I figured I would pivot. My next one is another expensive one. I had to pick someone from the Avs, because the Avs are playing tonight. They're playing the Edmonton Oilers. I picked Arsen Natchez because he makes $6,500,000, so like on the higher end, but not like too high where I was too limiting myself. Like Nathan McKinnon makes like twice that almost, and Martin Natchez has been awesome. He's at 99 points right now, so I'm hoping he'll get more than 100 tonight, which is insane. Those are my offense. Gustav Forsling is my first defenseman. He makes $5,750,000. It's a lot for a defenseman, but he usually does a lot. It's not like a ton of points for like blocking shots and stuff, but he'll do that. I tried to pick differently from some of my like sample ones that I read beforehand, but Gustav Forsling was someone I picked for some of the sample ones too, because I was just kind of interested in seeing what he could do. So I feel okay about that one. Next one's another entry-level contract. That is Brant Clark. He's playing for the LA Kings. I think he's so funny. But he's also been really good lately. And he's a good one, I think. Yeah, I wanted to pick an entry-level contract, a rookie guy, someone who could, have a good night. He also, plays on the power play for the Kings, as far as I saw. So, power play was another thing I was thinking of for this, because you get extra points for if you get, a power play goal or a power play assist, rather than, scoring in even time. Then I have, for my goalie, I have Scott Wedgwood. He makes, he was also on the Avs. He makes, $1,500,000. He is been really, really solid lately. I'm under cap even with Scott Wedgwood. I'm, $1,600,000 something under my $25 million cap. Okay, I have my results from the April 13th games, which will determine my romance. And I'll tell you what we got for points in the team I drafted. Jason Robertson. He got 1 goal, 1 assist, +2 for ±5 shots, and he had 1 blocked shot, which is 10 points. I'm not gonna I'm gonna spoil everything. Jason Robertson was my best player of the night. Thank you. Shout out to him. Connor Bedard got a -3 for plus minus and 1 blocked shot. Just -2.5 points. Connor Bedard sunk me. Connor Bedard's a bum. Marty Natchez got 3 shots, and that's it, which is 1.5 points. So, not great. That didn't help me. Would have been nice to get literally any points on the power play for any of my players, but whatever. Defensemen were hard for me to pick, and I don't think I picked well, but whatever. At least, again, they didn't get negative points. Connor Bedard. So Gustav Forsling got 1 shot, 2 blocked shots, 1.5 points. Brant Clark got a -1 for plus minus, 1 shot, 3 blocked shots. That's a point. Scott Wedgwood came in clutch for me, as he does. That's my goalie right there. He won the game, so I got the points for that. 30 saves and only 1 goal against. That is 8 points in total. Shout out to him. Goalie was the one I was like least certain on, because the win is so big for that one. I originally did the math and thought I had done the worst that I did out of all my practice runs. I didn't. I got a 19.5, so it's not the worst, but second to worst. A 19.5 means I am reading Beach Read by Emily Henry. I'm nervous about it. I'm nervous about it. But that's my last book of this. So, as a recap for my fantasy, I'm reading The Ragpicker King by Cassandra Clare. For my horror, I'm reading Play Nice by Rachel Harrison. For my sequel, I'm reading The World We Make by N.K. Jemisin. My miscellaneous book is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. For my thriller, I'm reading Verity by Colleen Hoover. My romance is Beach Read by Emily Henry. And those are my 6 books I picked for this. If you have any ideas for this format, I absolutely want to do this again. I had so much fun. I mean, I always have fun watching hockey, but this did up the stakes for me a little bit. And it did get me to watch some games I might not have watched otherwise. So I had a blast. I absolutely want to do this again. If you have any ideas, if there's anything I could do to simplify this, if there's anything else you would have liked to see in this video, absolutely let me know. Do you have a different idea for something I could bet on for this? In the future, I definitely want to do one where I also spin the wheel for the sport I'm betting on, which will be a little bit more all over the place, because like I've said, hockey's pretty much the only sport I religiously follow. I know a little bit about F1. I used to watch a lot of basketball, but like if you ask me to bet on basketball now, that'd be tough. And football, I know these seasons don't overlap for things, but football would be really hard for me. So, but I'm gonna try to do that in the future. Yeah, give me any suggestions for this. Tell me any of your thoughts on any of the books I had in this, particularly the ones that are now on my TBR and I am forced to read. I had a blast doing this. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, absolutely gonna do this again. And just thank you. So, that's all from me. Wish me luck. Actually, wish me luck on reading Verity. That's the one I need it for.